Now born, raised and more often than not still living on Ireland's Atlantic coast, our guest today grew up beside the sea. A wild force credited as being somewhat of a vital element in his music. Renowned Irish accordion player, composer and singer who rarely in fact lets a day pass without taking a dip into the sea, and recently rode 2,500 kilometres from Dublin in Ireland to Santiago in Spain in a traditional wooden rowboat. Breanndán Ó Beaglaoich, welcome to the show. Now you're currently with us here in France working on your memoirs and indeed on traditional Irish music. We'll get to that in a minute, but firstly, the sea, it seems, plays an enormous role in your life, a source of energy and inspiration.
Well, I was the youngest of a family of 9. We were farmers, but the sea was always there. Go to bed at night, you'd always hear the sea, and I felt a call from the sea, and I obeyed it. And for a long time, I've been going to sea, either fishing or rowing in regattas. I find the sea the most real place on earth to be, because especially in an ivogue like that, made of different types of wood, covered with canvas, painted with tar. And I mean, there's only between kind of the thickness of your jeans between you and a couple of 100 feet. And it's real. You don't mess with the sea.
No, indeed, you don't have that full control. Well, you mentioned there the Navogue, and we're seeing some pictures behind me over there. It is a traditional Irish curragh, and very recently you took off on that somewhat epic voyage. Let's take a tiny, closer glimpse for people at home of that Camino Voyage, as it was called. Tiny glimpse there, in fact, of you arriving into some of the various areas. And that's one thing we see is the massive welcome you got. But firstly, tell me, where did this idea of first of all, building this traditional boat and then setting sail come from, and how did it go?
Well, it's the traditional craft of West Kerry, the Navogue, and they've been making them for as long as I've been around. And Danny Sheehy, he was a great friend of mine, and he had gone on trips around Ireland, various places down through the years. And I joined him from Sligo to Rathlin in 2007, and then we went in a sailing boat to Iceland, and then we went to Ione in 2012, and back to Ireland. But and I had done a small bit of the Camino, and I looked at the sea and I said, Danny, we could do this with a support boat. And Danny researched it himself, and Liam Holden organised the trip. And it just happened. Is
it nearly the idea to put yourself in a somewhat precarious situation at one with the elements? Is that what appealed?
It's just total freedom from modern day living. You just sit into a boat and you head out for 10, 15 miles. You go along a coastline that you've never been before. You come ashore and you set up your tent. And the beauty of it was, through the music, go to airports, etc. You're strip searched basically. And we went from Dublin to Wexford, to Wales, to Cornwall in England, to Brittany, to Basque Country, Cantabria, Asturias, Galicia, and not once were we asked to produce our passport.
Really?
It was absolutely wonderful. And to come ashore in a yacht or a big ship, you just tie up, nobody notices, but when they see you come ashore, this precarious, as you mentioned,
different, it appeals to people.
But also it opens people's hearts and it attracts like-minded people.
But also I think perhaps the music is something that unites us, and one wonders with traditional music all around the world, is there a common base to a traditional music sound, or is it just the emotion that ties us together?
Well, I suppose traditional music is shaped by where you're from. Even within Ireland itself, the styles of music, there's a different style between Kerry music, say for instance, and inland music. Inland music is more in tune with the flatness of the land, whereas Kerry music is more wilder and more mountains and waves and all that. To my mind, because I don't read music, it was just. I learned by ear. I'm not singing my praises for that. I wish I could. My children read music, but I think for me, music comes from the land. So, and it has that in common with traditional music from all over the world, I think.
That's maybe what unites. Well, you mentioned just a short while ago the poet Danny Sheehy, who unfortunately died not long after that Camino Voyage. But you composed a piece of music in tribute to him, and let's take a quick listen to it now. Now, listening there, and you're playing with Rosie Mackenzie, who's a Canadian fiddle player, it sounds quite fast to a lot of ears, and I believe you have said that traditional music in many ways is getting faster and faster as people fail to listen to the waves and to the world around them.
For certain people, yeah, and I've been a culprit of it fairly often myself. It depends on your mood. The music covers all the emotions, I think. I mean, there were 3 types of music in Ireland. There was Gowntry, Gultry and Suantry. Gowntry was happy occasions, Gultry for sad occasions, and Suantry for magic occasions. And I think you hear about music therapy. It incorporates all the emotions. If you're feeling low, it heals you. If you're feeling crazy, it's a safe place to go.
Indeed, you can relate. Now, you are, in fairness, a solidly Irish traditional musician, and yet you've come here to France to work on your latest works. Explain that a bit to me.
You have to get away from it. If you want to have a good look at yourself, you have to shove back.
Yeah.
and to be here, you're away from it. I don't have a phone, and I'm fairly uncontactable. And you need quiet spaces if you want to really focus on whatever you're working on internally.
Oh, it's interesting because coming from where you live in a very rural, beautiful area of Ireland into a city, but it's true, you maybe get that external and fresh eyes to the whole thing again.
Paris is so beautiful. I mean, for me, I think it's a living museum. And fair play to them here for doing that. Now, maybe outside the core of it is probably like many other cities, but within the core of it, personally, I don't have to go into the Louvre every day or anything else. Paris is the Louvre. You just walk around the streets, and these cafes, sit for these espressos, and geez, I love it. And I haven't a word of French, but I try. Merci.
That's the main thing.
Merci and all that.
There is a heart, though, to Paris, and also the French are quite fans of your instrument, the accordion. You know, how does it compare? How does it shape up?
Well, the accordion is evident in all traditions, and I think the first accordion was patented in 1829 in Vienna, I think, and it is spread all over the world in different styles. But there is definitely a Parisian kind of French style to the accordion, especially in waltzes, and I love that tone as well.
And how easy is it then for different traditional musicians to come to a session together? Because the Irish love a good session. And I have seen Iranian, even traditional musicians, mix quite well, and it looks easy from the outside. But as a musician, how difficult is that?
Well, to mix with other musicians, you really have to you can't have any strong borders within your own head. And you can only go so far with it. But for the Iranian musician, no matter how good I am, the pure Iranian musician will know that I'm chancing my arm. But it's just like being willing to talk to people. I met these Venezuelan musicians last year in Achill Island. There was a festival organised by Alicia Kelly there. And I played with her for about 20 minutes, and it was powerful. We had a wonderful conversation with each other. But then we sat down to eat. We hadn't a word. I didn't speak Spanish, and they didn't speak English. But it's a musical conversation, and you have to have the give and take if you're going to mix with others.
Okay, the power of music to connect even when we don't have the words. Breanndán Ó Beaglaoich, Gurv Míle Maith Agat. Now, just for anybody watching, if you happen to be in Paris, Breanndán is playing at the Irish Cultural Centre this Thursday, and indeed giving a workshop with Rosie Mackenzie, I believe, in Tucson on Sunday, the 24th. Thanks so much.